how do you identify people's USPs or their like little component parts that maybe aren't on a CV?
So we do that, and we use Patrick Lencioni as the 5 dysfunctions of a team or whatever. That's the kind of model that we use.
Right.
You know, obviously the CV tells you a lot about what they've done, but it's digging into those scenarios like, why did you make that move? What did you learn from that move?
Have you seen situations where that hasn't gone, or you've learned that?
A massive crisis issue. But I am aware, it's a piece of advice I was given very early on by a general counsel that I worked for who was fantastic, and he said to me, I've always thought about that.
What would you have been if you hadn't been a lawyer, if that hadn't been your career path?
I had dreams of being an opera singer.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know if I would have actually made it at all.
Right.
But we'll never know. So I can. Yeah, no, I did a lot of singing at school and I really loved it, but I took a slightly safer route, which is very different.
On this week's episode of Lessons I Learned in Law, I'm delighted to be joined by Justine Campbell, who's Chief Legal Officer at National Grid. The National Grid is a business that operates both in the UK and in the US, but it's one of the world's largest publicly listed utilities providers. It provides both gas and electricity transmission and distribution services. Now, Justine's role has recently taken on an even bigger function. She's inherited the sustainability function at National Grid, but her position also spans and gives her breadth across legal, ethics, compliance, risk, safety, health, crisis, well-being. So multifaceted, which I think gives her and her team some really interesting insights from across the organisation, and we find out more about that in this episode. What I found really interesting from the conversation with Justine was hearing how she doesn't view herself as an island, how she's built the team of experts around her, both on technical ability, but also on the personalities and how she's brought that together. And she talks about it being a bit of a jigsaw that's been pieced together and now operates at a really high level, where they've got a safety net and a safe space for the leadership team to challenge one another when the time's right. Justine is also an executive member of the committee for the General Counsel 100, which is the GCs of the lawyers that represent the FTSE 100. And she talks about how important that gives her, and other communities give her a platform or a network of people that she's leaned in at certain points in her career. So again, fantastic to hear that from someone in that level of leadership role. So there's lots in there for lawyers of all levels, people that aspire to hold that position, an executive board level role one day. And I hope you enjoy. So let's jump in. Justine, thanks for joining me today on Lessons I Learned in Law. Welcome.
Pleasure to be here with you, Scott. Thanks for inviting me.
Thanks for coming. Where did you travel from today?
I travelled from deepest, darkest Hampshire.
Okay.
Where I live with my family. So yeah,
nice.
It's very nice to be up in the much more funky Shoreditch.
Yeah.
Today. Better coffee.
Better coffee. Edgy, slightly edgier, but well, thank you for coming. Family, what size is the family?
I've got 3 children and a husband and a dog and a cat. And my eldest daughter is currently working for Runna, which is an app where she's doing the podcasting.
Oh, wow.
So I should have really asked her for some tips, shouldn't I?
Oh, did you not?
But I didn't. No, I should have.
Okay.
I should have said what not to do.
How long has she been doing that?
Oh, just a short amount of time.
Okay.
So yeah, just a very short amount of time.
Is she enjoying it?
Yeah, she's really loving it, I think.
Right.
Yeah, it's very different. Well, no, maybe it's the same as this. I don't know. It's just people talking about different things, but probably just sharing their experiences and having a chat.
Yeah, nice. And is she doing the presenting or?
No, she's in the background doing the producing.
Okay,
so,
perfect.
Yeah.
All right, excellent. Yeah, definitely. I'd love to pick her brains and hear her hear her thoughts as well. So yeah, she'll be a good judge once this is once this is all.
Yeah, I'm sure she'll give me feedback.
Yeah, absolutely. So I've tried to give you an introduction as best as I can, but it'd be great if you could start with just giving us an overview of your role and function and where you are at just now.
Sure, thank you. So I'm Chief Legal Officer at National Grid. Let me start with National Grid first of all, because I think a lot of people don't maybe know exactly what we are.
Yeah.
So we're a pretty big company in the FTSE. We're probably FTSE top 20, 60 billion market cap company. and we operate in the UK and the US. So almost half and half UK-US.
Right.
And we run regulated utilities. So effectively, the way I sort of describe it is we run the motorways and the A-road system for transporting power and gas from where it's generated to where it's consumed.
Okay.
Simplest way to describe it. So a whole big network of energy systems. And I am responsible for legal teams across the different areas that we work in. I'm also responsible for secretariat, risk, compliance, safety, and as of yesterday, sustainability as well.
Okay,
So
right.
and social impact, which is the combined team.
Right. Nice.
But yeah, so quite a nice broad range.
Yeah.
And I've been there for just over 5 years.
Okay.
So yeah, it's
Excellent.
an exciting role and a great team.
Yeah, excellent. What size is the team in total?
It's I'd have to add in the new guys now. It's probably about 300-ish, of which the majority are lawyers, or certainly half are lawyers, actually. About 150 maybe are lawyers, or in the legal function. Combination in the legal function, obviously, of paralegals, lawyers, administrators, etc., and an operations team. And then the rest will be, as I say, mix of risk, compliance, safety,
Okay.
and then now sustainability as well.
Right.
So.
Excellent. What additional those are the additional functions and the breadth of that position, have those all been bolt-ons, or the role as you stepped into 5 years ago?
I stepped into most of it 5 years ago.
Okay.
It was always a role with a broader portfolio, and the sustainability, as I say, sustainability's just been added more recently, because we've had a restructure. We have a new chief executive, and she's moved a few things around, which is great. So it's given me a lovely opportunity now to add something new in, which is great. But I've always, over the last period of my career, I've always had slightly broader portfolio roles, which I really like, because I think it gives breadth, and I think it gives me the opportunity to continue to learn a lot of new things. And I think it gives the team as a whole a broader perspective on their role across the organisation. So they've got colleagues in the team that they operate in that they can go to for different perspectives on risk issues or compliance issues or safety. And I think it gives a bit of fresh thinking and more breadth to everybody's role. So I like it.
Nice.
Yeah.
And I think that you hit the nail on the head, and so many people are impacted by the work of National Grid, and it's a name that is there, but maybe I had a real understanding of what it does. And I think also the UK-US split. When did that, or how did that come around? Like that it did have it's got the US.
Well, so National Grid was privatised out of what was basically the gas and electricity networks in the UK, and then about 20 years ago it started acquiring and just changing the portfolio effectively, as many big companies do, as you know, and bought into a couple of utilities in the US. And then over the last few years we've again been pivoting our portfolio. We've now got 75% electricity and 25% gas. We still have a lot of gas networks in the US. We sold our gas transmission business about 2 years ago, and we've increasingly just been shifting things around. But we've had US presence for about 20 years.
Okay.
So it gives a nice interesting mix.
Yeah.
And a different perspective. It's quite interesting at the moment, as you can probably imagine.
Yeah.
For lots of reasons.
Absolutely. Yes. Say no more.
Yeah.
And do the teams in the UK, do they have international reach and scope? Or is it local?
Sorry, I should have said the way we're structured. So we've got effectively 5 big business divisions. And I have teams in all of those divisions.
Okay.
So the executive committee is comprised of functional leaders and business unit leaders. And each of the business units, there's New York, New England, the electricity transmission business in the UK, so the big motorway systems effectively, the electricity distribution business in the UK, which is the A-roads.
Right.
And then we have one business which is global, which is our ventures business, which has things like electricity interconnectors and some competitive transmission things in the US. So it's a mix of, it's those 5 business units, and they each have a general counsel in them, and they report to me, and they're responsible for legal, risk and compliance in those business units. Okay. And then I have a couple of sort of centres of excellence like litigation, which is global, compliance, risk, safety, sustainability. So it's a bit of a mix.
Nice. All right. Well, we'll waste no time and jump into lesson 1. If you could share that.
Sure. This is probably not that unique, but I think it's so important. It's worth reiterating. And I call it, and I say this to my team a lot, insight over information.
Okay.
So I think this is where a lot of in-house lawyers really stand apart. And this is about understand the context in which you're giving the advice. It's really, really easy to well, not easy, but it's a trap that you can fall into as an in-house lawyer, which is to think that your clients internally want to know that you know all the legal issues and that you're technically brilliant. The reality is they sort of assume that, and they don't know anyway. So you don't need to prove to them that you're a good lawyer. You need to prove to them that you understand the context that they're operating in, that you can actually provide business advice, that you can provide solutions, that you can lean into the problems or the opportunity that they're trying to deal with, and partner with them and provide options, risk calibration, solutions. So it really is about understanding context, which is incredibly important. And I think the other part of that is about the relationship, so the people part, because you can understand the context, but there's also a context which is an individual personal aspect, i.e. what's the issue that person is really wrestling with, and what do they need from you? I call it the WIFM, so what's in it for me?
Right.
Everybody comes into the room with some sort of a WIFM, and they either want a quick answer, they want a deal to go over the line, they want to sell more products, they want to manage a risk, they want to, I don't know, whatever they're looking for in the conversation. And if you don't understand that well, you also miss the mark. So you need to invest, I think, as an in-house lawyer, in understanding the context, the business issue, and the personality at the other end of the questions. I think I often say to people as well, pick up the phone or go and talk to somebody.
Right.
One of my pet peeves is when there's 2 pet peeves. One is really, really long emails with completely tedious, unnecessary information. It's sort of as if some lawyers think they're doing GCSE maths and they've got to show all the workings. And you think, no. They assume you know that. You need to have done the work, but you need to come with some pretty sharp answers and some sensible, creative thinking. But the other thing you need to do is not send back and forth lots of emails that become entrenched and unhelpful and wasting people's time. Just pick up the phone to somebody and just say, how can I help? I don't understand. Let me try and understand what you're really trying to get at. Because there's also a risk quite often that the people are asking the wrong question. Sometimes, a question will get asked and the lawyer ends up trying to answer a question which isn't even the right issue, actually. Right. And if they engage, they then work out what they really need to do. So it's kind of, I call it insight, and it comes from a combination of understanding business context, understanding the people, and getting into the issue.
Where did that first click for you? So you were Freshfields' lawyer?
So I trained at Freshfields. I don't know when it first clicked. I think I trained as a competition lawyer.
Okay.
Which is possibly one of the areas where, there's quite a lot of technical issues you need to understand, whether it's merger control or, behavioural issues. But you do end up unlike, say, other areas, you do actually have to understand business context quite a lot when you're practicing competition law, I think. And I'm not saying that to denigrate any other areas, but, you really do need to understand the market movements and the dynamics for multiple different kinds of businesses when you're a competition lawyer. So I think maybe I understood a little bit more about context more naturally than perhaps somebody who was doing M&A and doing IPOs and things like that, or, So, I don't know when it clicked for me, but it is one of the things that I try to impress upon anyone who's in the team as much as possible. And many of them are brilliant at it, and many in-house lawyers are great at it, but it's one of the things as a junior lawyer you really need to learn when you join in-house, I think.
What proactive, like an organisation the size of National Grid and the number of people, and I guess I'd imagine the stakeholders that the legal team can have at any point in time, what proactive steps can someone take in that type of organisation to build those relationships before you need to question or query or whatever?
Well, I think there's a lot of, well, first of all, there's a bit about come into the office and spend time with people. And of course, post-COVID, I think we've all struggled a little bit with trying to encourage our teams to come into the office. And it's always a balance, because I do believe that, you know, we are a talent function and we offer flexibility because we want the best people. So it's important also to give them the right flexibility to live their lives. So it isn't about, you know, three-line whip. Everyone must be in the office at all times, but investing time in relationships is incredibly important. So be in, meet your colleagues, lean into their issues, try and meet them where they're at. I mean, almost physically and emotionally and intellectually, and sort of just spend time going to their team meetings, even having lunch with people, and actually asking for help, I think, is really important as well. If, you know, for what you're trying to learn, showing an interest in their business. We're very lucky. We have a lot of really good training and things like that online and that sort of stuff about how the business works, and that's incredibly useful. So I think it's more about investing the time and understanding the real business issues.
I think I think back to the sort of overarching lesson on insights rather than information. If you over leverage that, it's about having the right answer and like put your head in the books or that, like focusing on that rather than the maybe the 20% where you need to dedicate your time to those relationships. It has a 80% impact.
I think the other. I think you hit the nail on the head there. It's a really good point that I think we learn as we get older or more long in the tooth in terms of our experience. It isn't there often isn't a right answer. There's a optimal answer, which maybe it's all about risk calibration. So the job of an in-house lawyer is really about risk calibration and providing solutions in context and options. And so I think if you know, the problem is we're sort of trained that there is a right answer, and there's probably a technical answer that gets you a good exam result. But when you're actually in the real world, it's all about judgment. And the judgment, therefore, requires context, because knowing whether something is a really big strategic decision that has to be made that you can't reverse out of, or something which is a pretty light touch, you know, fly by the seat of your pants, I'll give you a red flag analysis quickly on something that can be reversed out of, they're very different. And so your need for accuracy in the first is very significant. The need for precision in the second is, well, maybe pace is more important than precision. So I think it comes down to, again, that judgment and knowing the context, knowing there isn't a perfect answer, but getting the best answer you can by working with the person. And the other, of course, really important part of it is that the legal issue is only one part of the choice that may be being made. It may be a very important part, and sometimes it will be the most important issue, because you might be dealing with something where there's criminal liability, which that is a red line. If somebody says to you, I'm going to talk to a competitor about my prices, no, that's a red line. But if it's a judgment about, do we do something because we may incur legal risk, but actually the reputational damage of not doing it is far more significant, perhaps you calibrate it slightly differently. So I think it's really important to understand all the different trade-offs you're making.
Cool. And with I think the important part, the in-person, is so is so critical to that. It's part of it. Like, as we spoke in September about perhaps recording this. I think you get so much more from a face-to-face meeting. And,
you do.
In every context, it's even if it is just one time, it does help.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I've also had the experience of the relationship side where, again, one of my colleagues, you know, this happened once or twice, sends out a very stressy email. And it's clearly quite a punchy email. And I remember receiving one of those a few years ago, and immediately my hackles went up and I thought, well, they're wrong, and I'm going to tell them they're wrong. And then I reflected, I thought, that's not really it's not really the point. They're wrong, but they didn't, So I called them up and I said, "Oh, you got out of bed the wrong side." But I was able to do that because I know the person well, and they went, "Yeah, you're right." And we had a chat, and we went, "Let's just park this issue." So there's just something about the human relationship which helps to diffuse those stressful moments as well. I think it's incredibly important.
Yeah, which is a real skill as well, though, in doing that, and the confidence to make that call. For anyone that's new to the show, this podcast is brought to you by Heriot Brown, and we're a specialist legal recruiter working with top legal teams throughout the world. Every week, we speak to hundreds of lawyers thinking about their careers, what that might look like in-house, and we also talk to companies that are looking to build legal teams from top talent. And this podcast is really just an extension of those conversations. So if you're curious about the market or building a legal team yourself or what your next move might look like, then feel free to reach out to us. Our details are in the show notes. Thank you. Brilliant. Right, we'll move on to lesson 2.
So my lesson 2 is no man is an island, or no woman is an island in my case. And I think it goes to the fundamental importance of people. So there's a few bits to it, but I think the first one is the team that you have around you. And it's, as an in-house lawyer, when you're moving in-house, first of all, find a great team and join a great leader. People don't buy into companies as much as they buy into the people that they want to work with sometimes.
Absolutely.
And so it's really, really important to find somebody great to work with. But when you have the privilege of actually leading a team or building a team, I think it's really important to build the best team you can. And I it's going to sound really cheesy, but I think about them as a jigsaw puzzle, which is that everybody's got slightly different shape and size, but actually the whole picture is a really good picture overall. So you need to find kind of, the different parts of the jigsaw, and it works really well when you get it kind of all right.
Right.
I have a fantastic leadership team. We have really, as I said, great breadth, great different varied kind of experience, quite different personalities.
Right.
But we really value each other. We have fun together as well. We enjoy being in each other's company, and we've got to the place which is the best bit, which is we're able to challenge each other reasonably robustly now. There's quite a lot of challenge in the room, and all of that creates, you get the best outcome. So it's the classic diversity thing.
Yeah.
It also, I guess, when you get to a certain level, you're responsible for a lot of stuff, but of course you can't know a huge amount of it. You can't know. You are relying on the judgment of the people who work with you and their expertise, which is quite often much more than yours. So I have a safety director, for example. He's fantastic. He knows a hell of a lot more about safety than I do. Yeah. And I think my role is to bring the best out of him, to help him, to shine the light on him and his team when they're doing really, really well, and to give him some air cover when I can, when something isn't going well. Yeah. And so it's all about people and long-term investment in those relationships.
Yeah. How do you how do you sort of agree with yourself as a leader, put the guardrails in place, like to give them that scope? How do you set that?
That's a great point, actually. Yeah, because you do have to have some guardrails. I think there's a bit about transparency, which is, these are my sort of red lines. So I have one or two, which is about me and the way I work and what I kind of need. One is no surprises, which of course most people would say. You don't want to be not briefed on something when it before it becomes important. Or rather, you do want to be briefed on it before it becomes important. The second one is no long, unwieldy emails that don't get to the point quickly, because I don't have time. Yeah. So they know that about me now. I'm pretty impatient. And the other thing is, if there's a problem, just flag up the problem before it gets bigger. Don't wait for it to become a huge issue. I'm there to help, and if I can help, I'll help, and let's work it out together. So they're really those kind of guardrails. And there are one or two occasions where there might be a decision around things like budgeting or recruiting or something that's strategic, where I sort of say, look, come and just talk to me first. There are one or two things I want to sign off on. But mostly I quite like to give them the space to deliver in their own environment. I mean, we have as I said, we have a fantastic new CEO at the moment, but She's only just joined and she's different to the prior CEO.
Right.
So understandably, the way she does things is slightly different. So I've just said, we've all agreed, look, as we're getting to know the way she likes to do things, we need to be more cognizant of that. And I have more insight into the way she's working, and therefore we need to work together as a team to make sure that we're showing up well and that we are meeting her needs well and the board's needs. And so I'm probably being a little bit more closely involved with what they're doing as we get into a new norm.
Yeah.
So it's just about that, really.
Yeah. Cool.
I guess the other bit of the people stuff, though, is I mentioned it before, the ability to ask for help and build a network within the office, but also outside.
Okay.
So I know a lot of people outside of the company I work in, and I really value those relationships because it's a very safe space often to call people up and say, I really don't know what to do, or I'm really struggling with this, you've done it before, or just, do you have any advice? And somebody said to me years ago, very, very few people, if you call them and ask them for advice, will say no, because they're very flattered to be asked.
Yeah, completely.
And it is a really nice way just to build a bit of a support group. I don't like the word networking because it has connotations of being slightly sleazy.
Yeah, there's something in it. Yeah, trying to get something out of it.
Perhaps. But it's a community of like-minded people who can just help you think through things, which is really valuable.
Yeah.
So again.
And is yours strongest within the legal profession, or do you lean on other people outside of that as well?
It is probably within the legal profession because that's typically where I end up talking to people, to be honest.
Yeah, makes sense.
The sad problem of lawyers is we also talk to each other.
I'm married to one.
But it's different. Different companies have got different priorities and needs, and no one legal career, particularly in-house, is the same. So you can call up somebody because you know they've gone through a major crisis with a reputational issue, or you can call up somebody else because they've done some big deals somewhere and you need advice on something much more tactical, like who would you use for a deal in a particular jurisdiction or whatever. But it's just sharing some of the things you're working on in a safe space is incredibly... It's reassuring because you don't feel quite so isolated, I think.
Which it can be in-house in that position in the moment, but like you said, people are quite willing to pay it forward and share their experience.
Yeah.
Like when you came into the role at National Grid and you spoke about the jigsaw and both skill set and personality. How do you identify people's USPs or their like the little component parts that maybe aren't on a CV?
That's such a good question. Do you mean in an interview process or when they're in the team?
Well, either, I suppose. It's harder in an interview process. I think.
It is harder in an interview process. I think I'll start when we're in the team. We typically do quite a lot of team. What do we call it? Team enablement, or a facilitator who will help us. Team effectiveness. So we do that, and we use Patrick Lencioni as the 5 dysfunctions of a team or whatever. That's the kind of model that we use. Right. And we do some sort of psychometric analyses and all that sort of stuff, and work out who's yellow, who's red, who's blue, who's green, and how we work together. So it's quite nice. When I'm interviewing people, I obviously the CV tells you a lot about what they've done, but it's digging into those scenarios like, why did you make that move? What did you learn from that move? What about the people who you beat into a role? For example, if you were promoted internally, how did you deal with the fact that you then were leading people who had previously been peers? How did you deal with such a X problem? I try to kind of try to get underneath their how they approach things, because it tells you quite a lot about how they think.
Right.
Don't always get it right. I mean, recruiting is very hard. I mean, you know that.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's a little bit of gut feel combined with some, trying to fit in the bit of the jigsaw puzzle that you're trying to fit. We do psychometrics as well, and also I like to get people to meet people in the team.
Okay.
So 2 or 3 people in my leadership team, some of their key stakeholders, and the HR function, or one of my peers on the executive committee. Okay. So quite a bit of
Lot of due
vetting,
diligence.
shall we say?
Yeah. And some people know people.
Yeah,
as well,
exactly.
that network.
Yeah.
What color are you on that? Was that insights?
I can't remember which, but I do know that I am. I'm not sure I should be disclosing this publicly.
Don't then.
I'm probably more action and people oriented than data. Quite action oriented. So red.
Yeah, red.
With a bit of blue, which is the people.
Okay.
Well, red, blue, a bit of a mix actually, and then the green I think is data and analytics.
Yeah.
Which
Thinkers.
I'm less keen on that,
Yeah.
which is probably a bit worrying. But I think if you know that, again, I've got some fantastic people on my team who are better at that than I am, and you just need to know that.
Know your blind spots.
I know what I'm not. Yeah, I know what I'm not good at.
You're good at. Yeah. Exactly.
Just interrupting today's show with a quick message. Now, the in-house legal community is pretty small once you start networking in the right places. The Lodge is our community for in-house lawyers to help them connect and bringing them together in the one place where they can learn from each other, stay connected and get market insights. It's a peer-to-peer network, so if you've enjoyed any of the conversation that's taken place on this podcast, then I'm sure the Lodge will be for you. So please reach out if you're interested and find the details in the show notes. Thank you.
We'll move on to lesson 3.
Oh yes. So my lesson 3 is sort of remember your role and respect your role. Well, understand your role really. I think as an in-house lawyer, and this I don't mean this to sound pompous at all, but you do have to respect that your role carries weight, and that's even actually for not just the very senior members of the team, but I think when you bring a lawyer job title into a room, people do have respect for that. And that means what you say carries weight, it carries influence, it carries importance, and it carries culture as well, because actually the lawyers also do quite often carry the values and the integrity of the organisation as part of their remit. It doesn't mean they own it. I think the whole organisation has to own it. It has to come from the board and the CEO, but the lawyers play an important role in that. And so that means that sometimes you have to really think about when you are delivering difficult advice. You sometimes have to be the grown-up in the room that delivers maybe a difficult message. You have to be the one who is prepared to speak truth to power sometimes. You have to be the one that stays calm in the face of chaos. Yeah. If there's a crisis brewing, you can quite often be the one that needs to just think about, okay, my client is the company. I need to do the right thing by the company for the long term. So you need to have that ability to step back and into the role itself. And as I say, not take yourself so seriously, but respect the role that you occupy. And that gets more pronounced as you get more senior, I think, actually.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Cool. That's good. Good advice. And then have you seen situations where that hasn't gone, or you've learned the hard way?
Nothing. I haven't seen anything where it's been sort of a massive crisis issue. But I am aware it's a piece of advice I was given very early on by a general counsel that I worked for, who was fantastic, and he said to me, you can only sell out once. You have to preserve your integrity. Right. Because once you sort of sell out, then you kind of, you've nothing left. I've always thought about that. And he also said, and this again sounds sort of very serious, and I would hope that I would never be in this situation, but he said, every day you need to think to yourself, if you're ever put in a position, it might be the day you might need to resign at a very extreme end. If you're put in a very difficult position, you need to think, they can only push me so far, which is, again, the don't sell out point. And again, it sounds grandiose, and you would hope that you would never have to go there. But it's important to bear that in mind, that there might come a time when actually, if a company really starts to move away from the values and maybe, even moving into breaking the law, you have to step away. So I haven't seen it, thank God, because I've been very fortunate. I've always worked for companies with very high integrity and high values, and CEOs who've been, again, very high integrity, even in moments of crisis. But I could see it. I could see how it could happen.
Yeah, right.
And so it's quite a helpful, just, again, a personal guardrail, I guess.
Yeah. Who was it that gave you that advice?
Philip Bramwell, when I worked for O2. Philip is a bit of a legend.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. And do you like now in your role, seeking out people. We said it earlier, but how often are you keeping in touch with people, like people that have walked in your shoes that you're now?
Yeah,
that you're
quite a lot. So I mean, Philip is. If anyone knows him, they'll know he's a great guy. He was a great supporter and a mentor to me and to many other people, particularly women, actually.
Right.
And in fact, many of us worked for him part-time when we had families and stuff like that. So he was really big supporter. So I stay in touch with him quite a lot. He's retired now.
Right.
But he's great. And plenty of other people as well that I've had the privilege of working for that I still reach out to, talk to, get a bit of advice from, all of that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
There's quite a lot of expertise out there.
Yeah. And you're in London for the FTSE, the 100.
Oh, GC 100. Yeah, GC 100. Again, it's a good group. I mean, there's some great organisations that bring people together formally. So GC 100 is a particular group which is the representation from the FTSE 100 General Council community, and we do things like lobby government, look at legislation, and look at developments around particularly the capital markets and corporate governance issues. Right. So we have our AGM tonight. So I'm a vice chair of GC 100, and there's things like we have I'm a member of a thing called the European General Council Association. Again, incredibly helpful. Lots of peers across Europe, many of whom you've interviewed.
Yeah. Few, yes.
And that's an incredibly helpful group again to get really good advice from people. Under a very, very good Chatham House rule.
Okay.
So we don't share.
That's important.
Yeah. We share within each other. We don't disclose.
Okay. Excellent. Well, thank you for sharing the lessons. I'm going to we'll wrap up with asking for a book and a podcast recommendation, or a book or a podcast recommendation.
Okay. Oh gosh, I could do both. I think, as I said to you before, my daughter's working for Runna, so I should recommend Runna. But
so what is Runna? What is the?
So Runna is a running podcast.
Okay.
And I say that as a non-runner, so I don't listen to it because she works for them. So it's a really good podcast though for anybody who wants to learn how to run.
Yeah.
And really either is a brilliant runner or total novice.
Okay.
But I would probably say my favourite podcast is The Rest is History. I love that.
Yeah, that's good.
It's got really, really good stuff in it. I'm just downloaded a whole series on Jack the Ripper.
Oh, right.
Which is a bit gross, but interesting.
These parts,
Yeah. And I do on books, so I'll just throw in a book as well. You asked me about where I live, so I'm in a bit of a Jane Austen phase at the minute.
Okay.
Because it's the 250th anniversary of Jane Austen's birth, and she spent her final years and is buried in Winchester.
Right.
Which is where I live. So I've just finished Persuasion, which is my latest one.
Okay.
I've read them all, but I'm rereading them.
Good book. Good recommendation.
Yeah, very, very good book. Underrated, I would say.
Right. Oh. What would you have been if you hadn't been a lawyer, if that hadn't been your career path?
I don't know what I would have been, but at the age of sort of 16, 17, when leaving school, I had dreams of being an opera singer.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know if I would have actually made it at all.
Right.
But we'll never know. So I can say it with confidence.
Oh, right.
Yeah, no, I did a lot of singing at school and I really loved it, but I took a slightly safer route, which is very different.
Yeah.
So now,
do you still do for
well,
fun?
I still do a bit of singing, but my team will be cringing if they ever listen to this because they know, because I force them to do karaoke at every offsite.
Likewise.
We have. Do you?
Yeah.
I love a bit of karaoke.
I love it. Yeah, I'm not an opera singer level of singer. No,
Neither am I.
Watcher. Okay.
Neither am I anymore.
I'm sure you can hold a note.
No, it's great fun though.
Yeah, it is good. Going to segue into a little feature section of Hot or Not, which is something that we're trialing for this season. So springing this on you a little bit, but I'm going to lean into, I guess, things that are perhaps spoken about a lot in the legal press or conferences and certain things. So, and if you just give us a hot or not and a rationale for your answer, to whether
I'll
you
try.
think it's whether
as long as I understand what they are, that's fine.
Yeah,
Give it a go.
Yeah. So we'll start with something around sort of technology, which is on everyone's lips, but a sort of standardized self-serve legal tools for the business.
So standardized self-serve legal tools.
Yeah.
Okay. So I would say generally technology and self-serve for the business, hot.
Yeah.
Very much so. Whether it's standardized or not. So I think what you mean is something that the business can use quite easily. Yeah. Then I would say definitely hot. And in fact, we're developing quite a lot of that internally. So we're calling them sort of front doors.
Okay.
And the reason being is we've got such a huge investment program internally that we have got to scale up our legal capability, but we can't do it just by adding more people.
Right.
And I think it's not just about standardized service, it's about reinventing the workflow and making sure that we have lawyers who sit alongside much more automated processes.
Okay.
And so we're building a lot of that. I think it's incredibly important. And I actually would say that if you're a young lawyer, if you don't understand it, you're going to get left behind.
Okay. Perfect. Bringing legal in early.
Yeah, I think that's always been reasonably hot in the sense of it's important. Again, it goes back to the conversation about context.
Yeah.
But it's also really important that you don't have your lawyers sitting in meetings where they're just wasting their time. So we've tried to say to our teams, look, can you go into a meeting, for example, if it's at the early stages, understand sort of at a high level what it is, and then get out and make sure that they know that you need to be involved at the right times.
Okay.
But you don't need to be in every single iteration of a problem.
Right.
So sometimes you get brought in a bit too early, but that's better than being brought in too late.
Yeah.
Because if you're brought in too late, you're just fixing problems, and sometimes it's really hard.
Right. Yeah. That's good. That's good. Good tailoring of that advice.
I'm going to be. This is classic lawyer answers.
Yeah.
There's no yes or no.
There's
Is there? It's kind
caveats
of
there,
well.
but that's to be expected. Sustainability being legal's issue. Or problem.
Well, I mean, I'm biased because I have now sustainability in my team. I don't think it's legal's issue. And in fact, I said to my new sustainability colleagues yesterday, I just want you to understand this is not going to be a legal first approach to sustainability, because I think they were kind of thinking, gosh, are we now going to just become a sort of a part of the compliance with targets and that sort of stuff?
Yeah.
I think sustainability is a massive strategic issue. And so it's a strategically important issue for a company like National Grid. We're very much part of the energy transition. And so for us, sustainability in all its forms, whether it's around good governance, whether it's about community engagement and social issues and diversity, or whether it's about environmental targets and things, emissions targets, all of it is very strategic. So no, I don't think it's a pure legal issue, but I think legal has got a big part to play in supporting the company's balanced view of what sustainability means for that organisation.
Okay.
But again, it's only one aspect.
Yeah. So is that hot or not?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, it's hot. I think
hot.
it's maybe people think it's gone off the boil a bit at the moment, but I don't think so. It's, the clue is in the title. It's a long-term issue.
Yeah. It's lasting. Cool. And then last one, this might touch a nerve with your background, but saying that's a regulator's problem.
Oh, I don't really understand I'm not sure I understand the question.
So it sits with the regulator rather than with our business.
Oh, I see. Okay. Oh, yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, if you operate in a regulated environment, whatever the regulator's issue is your issue. So I'm not sure I understand the distinction.
Right. So you need to partner with them.
Yeah, I mean, for us, it's an incredibly important thing that we've got good, not cozy, but very effective regulatory relationships, which mean that we are disciplined to do the right thing, but that the regulator understands its responsibility to make sure that they both are ensuring that what we do is effective and efficient and affordable, but also that we attract long-term investment. So it's a whole ecosystem. So I don't think any problems these days are isolatable like that. So I don't know whether that means it's not hot or it is.
I think it means
it's cool.
Yeah. It's cool.
Cold.
So it's somewhere in between. And then we'll try a last one.
Okay.
Legal needs to have a seat at the table.
Again,
At the top table.
I think at the top table, yes, I would say yes. I think there is definitely a role for a general counsel or CLO at the top table. It's very, very important. But that person needs to be more than just a technician. They need to be properly a counsellor. I don't think legal needs a table. It needs to be at every table. As I said before, I think it's important to pick and choose where you need to be.
Okay. Okay, with that then, what would be your team were the innovative lawyer awards of the FT? But if you could choose your song for collecting an award, a legal award of your choice, what would it be that would represent you or your team?
Yeah, we were very lucky last year. We won the FT Innovative Lawyers, most innovative team in Europe for all of our work on how we're using Gen AI in our teams and stuff like that. I wasn't actually able to attend the event, which was very upsetting.
Okay.
But my team did go. Nice. I don't know that they did have a walk-on song.
No.
But if it was me, I would probably pick something by U2. Okay. So actually, Beautiful Day I would pick.
Oh yeah, nice.
Because it's a great song.
Yeah.
I'm Irish.
Yeah.
Got to support the Irish.
Yeah.
But I know they're my favourite group in the world anyway. But also it's I like the sentiment of every day. You never know what's around the corner. It's going to be a good day.
Yeah, that's good. I like that song. Nice one.
So
Well, that's a good note to finish on. Well,
thank you.
Thank you for sharing your lessons and taking the time
Thanks for
out
having
of your
me.
busy schedule. It's really nice to sit down and chat. And I appreciate it.
Well, thank you. It's been really nice to be with you, Scott.
Thank you.
Enjoyed it.
Excellent. Thanks, Justine.
Thanks.
Thank you for listening to this episode. If you've enjoyed the podcast or you've taken anything of value from today's conversation with today's guest, then the best thing you can do is give us a follow on our LinkedIn page, Lessons I Learned in Law Podcast, and to subscribe and give a quick rating to the show on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. It really does help it travel and get shared amongst the wider community, and you never know, it could help someone in their career at some point in time. So thank you for listening, and we'll see you again. Thank you.